Welcome back to the Clutcher Kick podcast. This is your host, Alonzo. Today we'll be talking a little bit about Halo Infinite Season 2 breakdown, MLB The Show 22, getting some big content coming later this week, Netflix getting to the gaming scene, Valorant finally releasing its big patch for this new agent, and more. Let's get right into it. Okay, so starting off today, we have Halo Infinite Season 2. Their roadmap has been released by 343. They did release a roadmap for the season as to what is going to be released during the season and at what time during the season. Co-op seems to be set to be released in August of this year. The open beta for Forge also is targeted to be released for September, which we did discuss in a past episode that the Forge mode will not be in Season 2. It will only be coming to Season 3. That explains, the open beta here coming for that. And they also showed off King of the Hill, Land Grab, and Last Spartan Standing, and 2 new maps releasing next month. I didn't really catch the names of those 2 maps, but we do get 3 episodes, or 3 modes coming. Obviously, King of the Hill being probably the most popular out of all of those. And yeah, we'll see where this Halo Season 2 takes. And I don't know. It'll be interesting. I mean, hopefully Halo can revive the game, or 343 can revive Infinite, just because I think it has a lot of potential, and it really did in the beginning. It was a really fun title in the beginning. It just kind of fell off because it felt the lack of support that they were putting towards the thing and the ignorance they were showing towards the community. It felt like, because they weren't really fixing things right away. But I'm hoping that they can make a turnaround, especially with this upcoming season. Got all these updates coming out, and then for future seasons as well. So I think it would be a sort of bright future if they continue along the path of continue to do updates. And I think the roadmaps help a lot with that as well. We have Netflix will now be starting to stream games, which is, I think, a really cool thing. There has been news this past week about Netflix. Well, not this week, but recently Netflix did buy out the Boss Fight Entertainment developer company that made the game Dungeon Boss, which I'm not too familiar with the game, but just from the details here, the games that they will be focusing on at the start will be mobile platform games. They're announcing for sure that they will have a large number of titles coming to Netflix by the end of this year, so end of 2022. An estimated guess or an estimation of games or titles will be around 50, which is quite a bit considering that they're just starting out, and considering it's going to be obviously by the end of the year. I mean, we still have a long way to go, but still 50 for a business to get the rights to stream to their platform is still a pretty big deal. AAA titles will probably have to wait longer. Most likely all these titles, like I said before, will be mobile platforms or made for mobile platform, which we do know in the past Netflix has made their own mobile game, which I believe was Exploding Cats. I forget what it was. Like that card game, Exploding Kittens, I think is what I call it. Yeah. And I think they're making a show, or they did make a show, something like that. But yeah, so the main target will be mobile for right now. And then yeah, so hopefully, we'll be getting AAA titles. That would be a great strategy. I mean, Netflix is a little bit smart for that, considering that we did see a decrease recently in their sub count, and also their stock has lost or gone down by around a third. So I think this is a very smart idea, or a very smart approach by Netflix, considering that they're trying to make up for that loss of money. And we all know that the gaming industry is huge, and a huge factor in making money. So I think that's a very smart idea. Could this make Netflix raise prices? Possibly. Again, considering they did just raise prices at the beginning of this month, I believe. But other than that, they leaves them a few ideas. Also extra, maybe they can do some sort of thing like the way that Game Pass is, where you'll have a separate subscription to Netflix just for gaming. Yeah, I'm not for sure. That's just a few ideas that I kind of thought of. But I don't know. I think it's a very cool and unique step for Netflix, especially considering they are a streaming, mega company for consumers that enjoy, movies, TV shows, and it's definitely taking over obviously the cable world as other streaming stuff kind of pounds on. But yeah, I don't know. This is a really cool approach, and I'm definitely excited to see where they go with this. Could it be a flop? Yeah, but at the end of the day, I mean, they got to try it. I mean, why not? They see the money behind it, so why not try it? Then yeah, I'm very interested to see when that'll be when the first game comes. But moving on, we have MLB The Show 22 getting a huge update April 29th on Friday. It's going to be including the new big program, the same as the face of the franchise was. We'll be getting a new program called Spring Cleanup. Some features about it. It'll be featuring 5 bosses. That's what we know so far. Nothing too specific about packs within the program itself, but we do know that 3 of these bosses, as updated actually as of today, with the today being Thursday, they did release the latest one. So on, was it Tuesday, I believe, they released the 93, or revealed the 93 overall Zach Britton pitcher, the great Oriole legend. And then we also, on Wednesday, we have the 93 David Justice, which he's featured in his Yankee uniform, which I found kind of curious. I thought it would have been an Indian uniform, considering his numbers on the Yankees weren't really that big. I feel like he had a better performance than the Indians. But I mean, I'm definitely excited. We finally get a David Justice card. I don't think we got a David Justice card last year, from what I know. But yeah. I'm excited for that, especially because I really like the lefties in the show. And then Thursday, today, or this morning, there was the release of the 93, or reveal of the 93 overall Tom Seaver pitching card. Tom Seaver was pretty productive. I remember a little early on when he had a diamond in the show 21. He's a pretty good pitcher. Overall against players, because a lot of people don't like his windup. He has okay stuff. If they keep the stuff that he had in 21, he had a decent pitch mix, but we'll see how they balance this out, considering that it will be a 93 overall boss. And the last 2 we don't know. I believe we will find out during the live stream Friday morning. I believe around like 11:30. On Twitch and on YouTube. They will be streaming to the MLB The Show Twitch and YouTube. So if you guys want to tune in for that at 11:30 PST, that will be available to you to enjoy, to see any new other things coming to the program that we don't know about. Some other things coming along with this update. We have the Kansas City Royal City Connect jersey program, as of the Washington and Astros, the same kind of thing. This program also will include an 89 overall Brett Saberhagen. For those of you who remember from last year, the show 21, the Brett Saberhagen, I believe, was a 95, I think. I think it was a little less. I forget. Between there. He wasn't that good of a pitcher, pitch mix wise, and I believe velocity wise, but his windup kind of makes up for that, considering a lot of people really don't like Beal's windups, especially the old style guys. So I don't know, maybe it could fit in your rotation, but I probably won't put it in mine, considering I don't know, I really like looking at pitch mix and velocity and stuff like that. Another new thing coming. We have a new Conquest Map. Of course, they have to have a Conquest Map with the new program. It's an umbrella shape, and you can earn 30,000 upon completion. Obviously, you can earn probably around. My guess is, or at least with the last one, my estimate is between probably, I want to say 40 to 50,000 in total. Counting the games played in the Conquest. I mean, we don't know how many teams will be on that map, or I don't think they detailed it, but I mean, you get around like 2 to 3,000 depending on how much you go off. So I guess, I mean, that's a pretty good amount added on along with the 30K that you do towards the program. So I think that's a really good thing to do. So make sure you guys do that if you're definitely wanting to grind for the XP and get the program done as fast as possible. I mean, there will be more stuff. Obviously, they release, have showdowns and missions and exchanges and stuff like that. But this is a very big chunk at the beginning. Yeah. So we also have a new event. We haven't gotten details exactly on the new event. We did mention about the event having this most recent one having Bob Gibson and I believe it was Greg Maddox diamond cards. It was at Forbes Field, which is like that really huge field from the Roberto Clemente moments from last year. It was an okay event. I didn't really play that much because half the time my event screen was kind of glitched and I couldn't queue up to play, so I only got to play like 2 or 3 games. But yeah, we'll be getting a new event tomorrow, so looking forward to that. More grinding, more diamond players. And we also are getting our first attributes for every player or players who have gone off or have done nothing. Those cards or those players will be getting their attribute updates for the first time this year of the show 22. So we'll definitely be seeing who will be going up to a diamond, who will be going up to a gold, who will be going down to a silver, who will be going down to a bronze, and vice versa, stuff like that. But yeah, so I'm very interested to see how that's going to change the market, how that's going to change, I guess, pretty much anything. Who's going to be a good diamond to get now and stuff like that. So yeah, moving on, we have Fortnite now getting the Battle for Rocky Reels. We have been repeating over and over from the past couple of weeks that all the new areas every week that they've been updating for Battle of blah 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 place in Fortnite. So for this week, it is Battle for Rocky Reels. Like before, you have the blimp there. You have obviously the resistance fighting against the POI, which are stationed there. Another funding station for an armored battle bus and a set of turrets can be found there. They did take out of the vault the light machine gun. Light machine gun has made its way back out to Fortnite, back out in chests, and it can be found in chests, rare chests, which I think rare chests are like the Sea of Thieves chests. The supply drops and sharks. I don't think they changed anything to it. I believe too significant. Actually, I don't think they changed anything at all, to be honest. I think they literally just unvaulted it. So it's the way it was when it was vaulted. So, I mean, the light machine gun before, I feel like wasn't that bad. It was actually pretty cool and was kind of reliable. It just, you get people. Here comes the spray meta again, just the way of the SMGs. But yeah. So the Boogie Bomb and the Rift to Go vote, the trial period ended, I guess. So I guess now they decide on who, basically which one are we bringing back into the game. The funding stations. Now, it's more like a vote thing, I guess. I don't know. Usually, though, every week it's automatically chosen, so that's kind of weird. But they did mention that the winner of the Boogie Bomb versus the Rift to Go vote will not immediately be involved in competitive playlists, but it will be subject to evaluation period. So most likely, which makes sense, all this stuff won't be in competitive, considering that it kind of ruins things or ruins the flow because you just want basic Fortnite. So, pros won't get managed and stuff. So, yeah. Moving on with Valorant. So first, I did want to mention that Fade's abilities did get revealed at that past event this last weekend that I did mention about in last week's episode. So before we go into the full details of the patch notes that happened this week, I want to just give a quick insight of some of her abilities before we go over them in a more detailed sense. So obviously we know the new agent's name is Fade. Her E throws an orb that plummets to the ground after a set amount of time. And as it hits the ground, it reveals enemies or locations of enemies in that line of sight. So kind of consider it as as the new decoy for Yoru, but in grenade form. It just doesn't blind people. It just reveals. So it's like a cross between like a Yoru Sova grenade, I guess you can kind of call it, just without the flash. Her Q fires an orb upon hitting the ground. This ability will lock enemies in place, not allowing them to escape by any normal means. So imagine like you hitting someone with a snare if you're playing Morgana in League. They're rooted for a certain amount of time, that type of thing. C equips a prowler that travels in a straight line, locks on the enemies, near sights enemies if it reaches them. So it's kind of like using, what's your name? Sky's dog. And then when it gets near someone, it near sights that enemy. So kind of like the same way that Omen's flash does to people when you hit them with it. And her X, which is her ult, gives her the power of fear, they're calling it. Sends out waves of energy that ignore obstructions and walls, creating trails to affect opponents as well as deafening and decaying them. So basically, it seems like the way it kind of describes, the way I'm interpreting it, is it tracks people down, deafens people, and kind of nearsights them, kind of just creates darkness around them. Kind of more instance of the way that like an Omen-esque type thing is. So now we'll go a little more into detail and depth of the patch notes that did come out Wednesday. And we have Jet getting a nerf, but I have seen some people call it a buff. So some of the details discussing it is that upon pressing E, Jet consumes her tailwind charge after a 0.75 second delay. After this delay, it activates a 12-second window where she's able to dash on the next key press. So basically, after she consumes a tailwind, there's that delay, and then it activates that 12-second window where she can dash on the next key. So it's like, I think what they're trying to limit is people spamming the tailwind. I think that's what they're trying to do. So you're not fucking flying everywhere. Jet's tailwind charge can still be regained, but now it's with 2 kills. Actually, was it 2 kills before? It might have been 2 kills before. I'm not for certain. To keep parity with the changes to Jet's dash, the functionality for dash during knife rounds and escalation will be adjusted. Some people say this is a huge nerf. Some people say this is kind of a buff the way it is. So I don't know. I feel like it's hard for them to make changes to Jet since she kind of is the star of the roster. But I think these little changes don't really make a huge difference to the meta. I feel like Jet is still and always will be a part of the main meta, or if not the main meta, until they completely drag her to the ground like the way they did Astra. Neon, she has now received battery energy upon killing an enemy. That rate has increased from 25% to 100%. High gear, one of her abilities. The slide cannot be cast during equip delay. The velocity restriction is removed. Neon can now slide sideways, forward, and only requires that she is moving. So now you can basically slide like you're Houdini. Energy drain now has been increased from 6.7 per second to 10 per second. So I think that's a really good way to balance out some of her abilities, considering she is powered by energy. Fast lane, which is her walls, wall damage has been removed. So I want to say that wall damage towards your friendlies is removed, I believe. They didn't really go into too much detail here about friendly fire, but it was kind of just a vague thing of wall damage removed. And the way that I see that is, why would they remove it for enemies? I feel like they would more remove it for friendlies just because it kind of gets annoying. So yeah. Sova, we do have actually quite a bit of changes coming to him, at least mostly for his owl drone. The owl drone, the duration is reduced from 10 seconds to 7 seconds. Its health has been reduced from 125 to 100. So now it's basically kind of like probably a one shot now. Before it was kind of like 1.5 or 2. The dart reveal, number of reveal pings has been reduced. So instead of it spotting or blinking on a person when they're marked for 3 times, it's now reduced to 2. The initial delay before the first ping reveals has been increased from 1.2 seconds to 1.6 seconds. The delay between the first and second ping remains at 1.2 seconds. So a slight delay now between pings, which is kind of nice because it did go a little fast for people just to automatically pre-fire. So that's kind of good. A little bit of quality of life for the owl drone. They changed the crosshair color to green to better stand out against the white HUD, which makes sense because it was kind of hard to see. Remove delay on the target hit confirmation text, and the target hit confirmation text now remains on the player HUD when transitioning out of the owl drone. Target hit confirmation text now remains on screen for 2 seconds. It was 1 second, now it's 2 seconds. And also adjusted audio on the drone dart hits for both Sova and the player hit to make confirmations more noticeable. The shock dart is also getting a slight change. The max damage decreased from 90 to 75. That's pretty huge in my opinion, considering that the shock dart has always been an annoyance for getting people out of corners or certain areas of a site. So I think that's a really cool, or not really cool, but I think that's a good balance. Definitely with these changes to Sova, they're not drastic. It does dwindle down a lot of one of his abilities and a little bit of his shock dart. So basically 2 abilities, but definitely the main target was the owl drone. So it kind of feels like he has a little bit less of a strong kit, which I think could be targeted towards possibly going towards other initiators. So I think that could be a good change as well. Get more people playing other things. A little bit update to Agent Ability Ammo, Jet's Bladestorm, Rage's Showstopper, and Sova's Hunter Fury are now going to show how much ammo they have left when it's equipped. And also a little bit about competitive updates. 5-stat queues, they reduce the ranking gain/loss penalty for different 5-stat configurations. If everyone in your party is Iron through Diamond 2, there's going to be no RR penalty if within normal grouping. 25% RR penalty for all players if any player falls outside of normal grouping. And if anyone in your party is Diamond 3 to Immortal 3, but no one in your party is Radiant, 25% of that RR penalty for all players. And then if anyone in your party is Radiant, 75% RR penalty for all players. So that pretty much wraps up updates for Valorant. Semi-big patch. They did obviously add a new agent. That's big. But just seems like some fixes to three meta characters. So pretty change in there. Moving on, we have Microsoft announcing a event upcoming for games similar to obviously E3, but we know E3's canceled, so everyone's starting to do their new thing now. Microsoft did announce already its date and times for this event, actually, which is actually kind of smart. They announced that this event will be held on Sunday, June 12th at 10 a.m. PST, which for those on the East Coast, that is 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure you guys mark that down in your calendars. Obviously, this will include, we know, that'll include all of Xbox acquired partners, most likely. Some things will be or have been kind of confirmed to be announced for things to be released for PC, and some additional things that will be released for Game Pass. And this also can be a huge event where Starfield can make a mark. We haven't really heard much from Starfield in the past few months, or from it officially being kind of like the hype train starting to build up for this year. So I think this is a great event to show some details. We might only get a teaser, but I mean, if we get a little bit of an explanation, a little bit of details, a little bit of backstory, I think it'd be a great way to introduce the game, considering that it is coming out November 11th, or is targeted for the November 11th release of this year. Moving on, Overwatch 2. Like I said last week, I'd tell you guys about Overwatch 2 beta and my experience with it so far and how I'm feeling about it. I gotta say it's pretty fun. We did talk about Orisa and Doomfist changes and of Sojourn's abilities. So we'll just do a little bit insight over that, or my feelings toward them as playing them, and also witnessing more of the roster changes as I played a variety of characters. So starting out with the Bastion. Bastion has been changed. He can now travel in his turret form. So when he uses his ability now, as turns into like the turret, he can jump, move forward, backward, but it's only for a limited amount of time. And this ability does have a cooldown. So we do have a cooldown. It's not unlimited like OW1, where you're just going back and forth, turret, not turret, turret, not turret. He does now have a grenade that can bounce off of walls, and it also does damage. Clearly, it's a grenade. It does actually a pretty well amount of damage. It's not like super overpowered, but I do feel like it does a good amount of damage. He has a new ult now that basically you become immobilized, and you can move with your WASD keys, or at least as of now. I don't know what, I imagine just your analog stick on console. And you can fire with left click, one shot at a time. You get 3 shots of artillery fire. You choose mark spots, and then they'll come down within around like a second to 2 seconds, and will obviously damage anyone in that radius. Does a pretty good amount of damage too. I definitely like that a lot. Yeah, he's definitely more versatile, I feel like, and definitely I don't know, he just feels a little more playable rather than the person just sitting back and in turret form and spraying. So I definitely like the changes to him. Winston now has the same abilities, but he does now have a secondary fire, or a right click of beam of electricity. It does do a good amount of damage. It actually does a pretty damn good amount of damage for a tank against people. There's obviously a slight delay or cooldown between the shots, but it's definitely a cool thing for a long range option, considering that you mostly have to be on top of people for your primary or left click fire. So I definitely like that about him a lot. Definitely a cool little small change. Mei, her primary fire no longer freezes people now. It does slow them down still, but it only slows them down. And they did buff the damage on it. And I can tell you that it is a pretty significant damage boost from what it was before. And obviously her ult still freezes people. So basically the only thing that she can do is freeze people with her ult. It's just her primary fire or left click is still the slowing down, or the spray of ice, and it just slows you down and obviously does more damage. And obviously she still has her right click as well with the icicles. Bridget, her shield bash no longer stuns people when you knock into people or bash people. It just knocks people back. No longer stun. That's pretty much the only change to her. Cassidy lost his flash. Now, that could be a little bit of a drawback, considering that's kind of a good utility, but he did gain a magnet grenade, and when this thrown, anyone who's in close range will home in nearby enemies, and if the grenade is stuck to enemies, it deals an additional amount of damage. So kind of similar to Bastion, he's getting a grenade, but it's a little more close range oriented. Zarya, her particle barrier, which is her self shield, and the particle barriers for teammates, those are now at a cooldown at the same exact time. So you get 2 of each, and you could simultaneously put barriers on teammates, plus have a barrier for yourself twice. So I think that's a really cool thing. I'm not sure if they lowered the barrier health, but it is a pretty strong or stronger ability, I feel like, in able to shield up your teammates and shield yourself. The Sombra, her hack ability now disables enemies' abilities for a much shorter time than before, but it does mark them to her and to her teammates. And while an enemy is hacked, Sombra will be able to do much more damage to them at the same time. Her EMP, or as we know, her ult, it now deals 40% damage to anyone caught in the radius at the same time, obviously, of hacking them. And going further, just a little bit of review. Doomfist and Orisa. Doomfist has proven, and I'm saying this again, has proven that he is a pretty powerful tank. The abilities they gave him, the versatility that he has, I think is a really good addition to the tanks. And he still remains a pretty good option for tank. I mean, obviously, he's not a shield, considering that we do only have a 5v5 layout now. So you only get one tank, or you would average one tank per match on each or per team. But I mean, his abilities he gave him, the cooldown stuff, seem pretty good. He's able to do a pretty good amount of damage as well. So it's definitely a sort of combination of a little bit of damage, but he's got a huge tank surface, or how can I say it? Like, I guess he's just tank built. Orisa, oh my god, Orisa, she is broken. Like, the abilities they gave her, from watching the video, I didn't think that they would be so strong, but in game they are absolutely disgusting. She is a tank, so obviously she has a lot of health. The spear is gross for the amount of damage it does and how far it can knock you back. And the spin is so good. It blocks so much damage for a good amount of time, and it pushes people back pretty good. And I just want to say, Orisa can clear people by herself. If you can stack her abilities correctly and ambush a team with your ult, you can clearly just become an Orisa damage. It's insane how good that they've made her. Will she be nerfed? My guess is yes, because some of the stuff is a little strong, but it definitely was a cool thing to play around with her and stuff. So it was very cool. And last but not least, Torb is very strong now. He seems, I mean, he was strong in OW1, but this game he seems a little stronger now with some of the armor changes that they did have to the game. So he seems a little bit not just kind of like a leaf getting shot and he's dead. He has a little more oomph to him. And I don't know, I think it's very valuable. He's a little more valuable to the game, considering that we are one less person. So everyone's a little more versatile, and he has that ability to be a little more versatile. And yeah. So that pretty much wraps up the news for this week. Tell me what you guys think about, I don't know, just all this stuff. It's a lot of big things happen this week. Definitely looking forward, like I keep saying every week, towards the summer stuff. Summer stuff is when it gets really exciting, more releases, next year's releases, stuff like that. So we'll definitely have some really cool updates, I imagine, coming up soon. But yeah, guys, tell me what you guys think about Halo Infinite Season 2 and its roadmap and stuff getting released. Tell me what you guys think about Netflix and its gaming. How will you guys play MLB The Show 22? If you guys do, what are you going to grind first? And what do you think about Valorant's, update? What do you think about Sova and Jet and Neon getting these so-called little nerfs, I guess? And Jet, do you think it's a buff or do you think it's a nerf? And with Overwatch 2 beta, or with Overwatch 2 in general, if you guys played it, what do you guys think of the game? Or if you've watched it, what do you think of the game? How does it make you feel? Do you think they could be successful again? And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll talk to you guys next week. Peace.